Hello, my fellow 3D enthusiasts, to this, a Maya 2018 tutorial. In this tutorial, I have gotten a request to show how to easily make large forest scenes. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do that without using a massive amount of processing power and without completely freezing up your scene. Even if you're running a smaller computer, like a smaller laptop, or just a run-of-the-mill desktop that you get from the store. So, with that said, let's get right to this. So the first thing you're going to want to get yourself a tree of some sort. I have a tree here that I exported from SpeedTree. I had this free trial for a while, so if it opens up here, there we go. So here you have your tree. You can see mine has a few holes in it because it was from the free trial of SpeedTree, but whatever. So you get your tree, you put all your materials on it. Make sure all your materials are applied in the scene with just a tree. You can put a light in here, whatever, just so you can see if the materials are working. My materials are broken. I can get Arnold to open up here. You can see my materials are broken. They aren't working anymore. That's just my fault. I had to go in there and fix the materials, but it works either way. Whether or not your materials are applied, it will just, mine won't have materials on it in the final render. So what you want to do is you want to select your tree, so you can go in, find your tree. Mine's just called test because this was a test export. So you want to go over to your Arnold tab here, and if you don't have your Arnold tab, just go up to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager, and all the way down at the bottom here you'll find the here it is, solid angle, and it's mtoa.mll. Make sure that's loaded and click the auto load, and then just refresh that, and it should appear. You'll want to have a fairly new version of Arnold, so just go onto the Solid Angle website and download the newest version. So what you're going to want to do, take your tree and go up to this menu here, and you're going to want to export a stand-in. What this is going to do is it's just going to give Maya information, so if you put this stand-in in another scene, it will actually call back to this scene and grab the tree from here instead of from your current scene, so it'll use a lot less RAM and a lot less power and will just make your scene that much faster. So you don't really have to change any settings in here. You can click off the cameras and the lights because you pretty much never want those in your stand-ins. So I just always have those clicked off, and then just name it whatever you want. I already have one here, so I'm not even going to do that. So then what you're going to want to do is open up whatever scene you want to make a forest in. So I just have a quick terrain folder I made here. It's just a random piece of plane that has bumps on it, whatever. So now you're going to want to go over polymodeling, just create a cube, and just leave it there. Don't touch it, don't do anything to it, just leave it there for now. So you want to go to FX and go up to the Mesh tab over here, and the Create Mesh Network, and click the box next to it. So once you're in here, you'll see there's a few different things. You'll want to make sure that this is an instance, not a mesh, because that'll defeat the purpose if it's a mesh. Don't touch this. You can name it whatever you want, so I'll just call this tree network. If I can type the right thing, there we go. And I'll just put this on single point distribution because it won't really matter. So apply and close. So now you have your mesh network that popped up over here. If it didn't pop up, just go in this menu, select your mesh, and then go to the attribute editor, but it should just pop up there for you. So you can go over to your tree network distribute right here and just turn this to 0 because you don't need that. So now what you're going to want to do is create a placer node in this network. So just add that. So now you have this. this is going to be pretty much the driver for you painting your forest. I prefer painting forests on my objects just because it makes life easier and it makes it super fast. It can have some issues, such as if you have large curves like this, then you usually want to just do like single tree placing and go across it so that the trees don't go through the grid. Right now there's a little bit of a bug with the mesh network, so if you have scatter on, that will create a whole bunch of trees, but the trees will scatter from the original point along the same plane and they'll go through the ground. So we'll just leave that alone for now. What you want to do is, you see down here there's a paint meshes. So you want to open up your outliner and find your terrain. Don't select it like I just did. Go back here, go back here. Yeah, don't select it. Just middle click on your terrain and you'll see there's like a little outline around it now. Then just drag it over and release the middle click, and there you go. Now you have your terrain mesh in here. So now we can paint on it. So now you'll see if I paint, we get a whole bunch of little cubes all along the mesh. You won't want them to align to the mesh like this. You'll want either align to brush or just off. I'm just going to set it to off for this tutorial. So just delete those off. So now that you have that all done, let's just place, I think I left my tree pretty big, so let's just place like 4 around here. But you can see if I just click and drag, creates a whole bunch and there's no leg whatsoever because it's just an instance, there's nothing there. It's basically just making a ghost of that shape. You can even see if you look up here, it's not actually creating anything. They're just there for the render. So I got my 4 trees placed there. So now what you're going to want to do, here's the complicated part. You want to go to your cube. You can see it in your outliner here. It'll be grayed out because it's invisible now. You want to go down to the Arnold over here in the cube shape. And you'll want to switch this from polymesh to a procedural. Now, here is where you can put that original stand-in file. So you open up this, find your stand-in file. It'll be whatever you named it, .ass, and load that up. So now this is loaded up. You can see they still look like cubes until I go over to my Arnold tab and do a quick render. Alright, slight jump cut there. I just had a issue with my .ass file. That was my fault. It, for some reason, lost where it was supposed to be calling back to. So that is one thing you have to really watch with .ass files, is that if you somehow move or edit the location of the original Maya save file for that tree, then your .ass file will be completely confused and not work anymore. But like I was saying, all you have to do is you go over to your path here after you've clicked on your cube, P-cube shape, change this to procedural under the Arnold tab, and then yeah, just find your tree. So once you have that in, you can see I have all my trees sitting here nicely. And as you can see, I can still move in here really easily, even though there's millions of polygons per tree, because they only show up once it starts rendering. So it's only going to use rendering power. Now trees do slow down your rendering. That's just the way of trees, but at least you can still work on it while you're doing this. Then anytime you want to create more trees, all you have to do is go back to your placer. I want another tree here, and another tree here, and another tree here. And then you can open this up. And there's 4 more trees. Alright, I think there's a few more things I should mention about this method. You may have noticed that the cubes, or your trees, go through the ground in areas, or at least in my tutorial they did. That's because instead of going up to the mesh and smoothing it, using the division levels like I should have, I just hit 3 on the keyboard, which then, obviously Maya still sees it as this, only we're seeing it as a smooth, so then yeah, it goes through. So you can see as soon as I turn it off, they only go halfway through, which is what they're supposed to do. That's where they're supposed to be, and that makes the trees line up. So you can see if I do another render here, now the trees are actually sitting where they're supposed to be and not halfway through the floor. That still doesn't quite work with the hills because I have it set to not align with anything. It just points it straight up. So if you do it like that, then you might want to just do it aligned to brush and brush on the hills, or you can do it from like an upper angle like this. But whatever floats your boat. It really, like, even if they're going through the floor, like here, I'll turn the smooth it on. Even if they're going through the floor from farther away like this, like usually you'll see a forest, you really can't tell too much. Maybe there's a few like down in here, over here that you can tell go through the floor, but for the most part you won't be able to tell when you have a few shaders on and you're overlooking it like this. You won't be able to tell too much. So I figured I'd just mention that for you guys. Alright, so last thing I'm going to mention, you notice my trees are small now. To do that, it's just a simple matter. Let's just save this quickly. It's just a simple matter of going back to your original tree and just scaling it. So if it opens up here, you can see I just scaled it down. I can select it again, scale her up, and save the scene just in case it crashes. You always want to save before you make your stand-in. Forgot to mention that because sometimes it can have a hissy fit and crash. That's just one of Maya's little tropes right now. So just export the stand-in again. Open up the train again. And now my trees should be big again. Yep, there they are. Now they're all huge. So that's just how you can scale them really quickly. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped you guys out. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And remember to like and subscribe.